All right, so our speaker today is Jayme Goldberg. She is the founder of Consequential Flowers, which is an inclusive community and platform that empowers ambitious young people to bloom as bold, solutionary leaders. As a visionary with demonstrated success creating value in fragmented industries and scaling organizations, Jayme speaks regularly on topics such as leadership and entrepreneurship. Prior to starting Consequential Flowers, Jayme co-founded SilverLine Athletics, a consumer data analytics company. Prior work includes serving as Chief Strategy Officer for a BNY Asset Management subsidiary and working as an investment analyst at General Motors Investment Management. She served 3 terms on the External Advisory Board of Penn State Schreyer's Honors College, is an active mentor for college students, volunteer for Why Not Prosper, a 501c3 that helps previously incarcerated women re-enter society, and served as former vice-chairperson for the Cadence Cycling Foundation. Jayme holds a BS in Business with honors in Finance from Penn State Smeal College of Business and Schreyer's Honors College. She earned an MBA from Columbia Business School and is a graduate of the Leadership Philadelphia Core Program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do I have this?
You're good.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Dr. Steger, for having me here today. I'm very excited to be here. I'm at my favorite school, and so you're my favorite students. I put together a presentation, Consequential Flowers, which is a mentor platform, and I want to pull out from it a couple leadership attributes and lessons that are relevant to modern mentorship. And when we start, I want to start, it's going to be less than 30 minutes of my presenting. You can ask Q&A during. There will be some videos that are shown, some interactive participation, so have your phones ready because there's interactive software. You're going to be able to scan a QR code, and people who are online are going to also be able to scan if it works or log in directly. There's no other data taken. You don't need to create an account for the interactive software. It's super easy. And then we're going to allow time for Q&A after. And my hope is that you're going to walk out of here right now with what modern mentorship means and why it's different than, you're going to think differently. And that's what we want in a new way. I want to start by sharing my consequential vision for us, because my motivation and anyone's motivation who you're learning from or talking to is relevant. So I'm here because of consequential energy, and that is that I get a lot of joy from helping to empower other people to thrive. That doesn't just mean survive. It's to be happy and bring out the best in themselves. That's what makes me happy. So we're in the 4th industrial revolution of machine learning, artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of things changing, and when things are changing around us, we need to adapt in order to be successful and to be happy and thrive in those changing circumstances. So what we're talking about today is really a mindset, an adaptation of mindset, and being intentional about that mindset. That word intentional is going to come up a lot. It's a reoccurring theme that hopefully you will leave with, and maybe when you see the flowers around Penn State or anywhere you are, it's going to make you be present, mindful, and to be intentional about that moment and what you're doing. So we're going to be intentional. I'm going to start by just warming up question. What is your favorite flower color? What we're going to do, this is integrated throughout the whole presentation, but since we have to go to 2 different technologies, we're just going to go do all the slides and we're going to bring them back and go revisit the presentation. So if you can go in and just type in your favorite flower, we're going to start to collect that on the word cloud.
Oh, so do you want flower color or flower?
Flower color. Flower color. But actually, lotus is my favorite flower, so I'm really happy to see it there. No mud, no lotus. And people at home can do it, or at home or not in the room, virtual can do it as well. It's just to make sure that everyone can get on the technology. Here's the next question. What are you passionate about? It can be anything, like music, books, your friends, anything. And you can put in multiple answers. And this question about passion is really important. It's underlying everything else that we're talking about with the mindset. I'll give everyone 10 more seconds. Exploration, working hard, beer, that's cool. Family, so there's sports, astronomy, excellent. And people have multiple passions. It's just really important to always revisit it. Often when we're thinking about education and mentorship, we're only thinking about like work. And we're thinking about it in a silo, in technology or whatever our major is in a silo, and we're not thinking about it in the context of what our passion is, and they can actually be integrated. Next question, how passionate on a scale of 1 to 100, so they're increments of 10%, are you about your college major? This is just a really important starting point for self-reflection and thinking about your mindset. We talk about modern mentorship. So there's the majority. There's a peak in the 8. That's like the 80% range. That's excellent. So people seem to be on the upper half. That's wonderful. And if we're not, and we're on the lower half, that's great too. At least you recognize that that's not a passion. But it looks like people are pretty passionate. This is a very important question. The rest of the presentation will be based on this answer. In your first year after college, how much would someone with 10 or more years experience learn from you? And don't overthink the question. Just give an answer to that. Give about 10 more seconds to answer. So we have the majority of people, the highest percentage, half are in between the 1s and the 3s, the 10 to 30% right now. Okay, that's excellent, important data point. Next question. In your first year after college, how much could a colleague with 10 or more years experience learn from you? 1 to 10. How much could you learn from a colleague? I was on the last question still. So these scores are on the higher end. Yes, we can definitely learn from people when we come out of school. The majority of people are at the 10 level, so close to like the 100%. Let's go back to the presentation. Am I able to switch back to the?
Yeah, just go ahead and all the way in the bottom, just click on PowerPoint.
Okay.
There we go.
Now we're good to go.
And then just slide to show.
Okay, we have all the questions answered, so we can just sail right through it. What we're going to talk about now is based on passion and your perception of the value that you can have, that you can teach other people who are more experienced than you are in the workforce. And let's get into both of those things. I'm going to show you the data and what your answers are that fits into other data that I've collected and the implications of it in modern mentorship. What I asked is a statistically significant group of college students, all from Penn State, and maybe some who are helped to contribute to this data and are listening. I call them young leaders. And this is the broader range. So you know where you ranked yourself. How much could a colleague with 10 or more years experience learn from you your first year after school? And the mean was 49 on a scale of 1 to 100, with 33% scoring below 50. What we do find is that I have found that women do rank themselves lower. And I've had I've one particular example of a woman who is in the College of IST and went in as a sophomore to a nursing home, digitized all their records, wrote algorithms to optimize nutrition, and she gave herself like a 17. Okay, so there's examples of people, and I'm just highlighting especially women, who underestimate what someone can learn from them. This is the mindset situation. We're in this different world, and before you, the people who came in prior generations were not really taught about as much. It wasn't as emphasis on innovation. Now technology is driving innovation, and that requires fresh thinking, fresh mindset, not just doing things the way we were doing things. If, however, you ask people who you ask to be mentors for you, what their perception is of how much they can learn from you your first year out of school, their scores, I asked them about you, okay? And their scores were a 50% mean, with 42% of these people, these are like senior level people, presidents, CEOs, managing directors, who were scoring below 50. So if you are asking someone to be a mentor, asking a specific question, trying to learn from someone, and if we project these numbers that 50% of the people are below 33, when you come to someone and you want to be mentored, the possibility is that they're looking at you, that this is the way we do things, you will be learning from me, and I'm not necessarily learning from you. Now, what the implication of that, I call this like the 100. When we come out of school, we are not a blank canvas where you can learn 100 from everyone else. What you bring is your fresh thinking. You bring color to that canvas. There's art. There are things that you have learned here, or ways that you think that are perspectives that the people who are back on this side of the slide and below 50, they weren't necessarily taught to be mindful to get that from you, that fresh thinking. So there is this risk that you run of when you are learning from somebody, when you're learning from someone or being mentored, that you're going to think of yourself at this lower score and that they're at this 100. And then what happens is that your color is not going to come out. And if your color does not come out, if this generation's color does not come out, this fresh thinking, fresh way of communicating with each other, then we will stay as we were. So there's this mindset that you are a 100, and that what we're doing right here, and what you're going to walk out of here with, and you're going to start saying it even if you don't believe it, because if you say it and think it, it will happen, is that you are 100, and we are separating what you can contribute, the value of your fresh thinking. We are decoupling it, separating it, tearing it apart from what we think we can learn. Those are two different things. You might be learning 100 and you're 100. Those things don't add up. Is that clear? Is there anyone who feels they don't understand separating these two numbers? Good, that's good. So this is the 100, completely decoupled. These are in flowers. I like to think of 100 all the time, anchoring ourselves there. And we talked about what are you passionate about, and the passion concept is really important and about your college major, and this is why. What I did find in asking college students was that their passion, I don't have scores for it because it really doesn't matter. The visual shows like a stratification of from 0 to 100 where people are on their passion rating. How passionate about your industry are you? And people were all over the place. The vertical axis doesn't mean anything. It's just stratifying the people who took the survey so we could separate the numbers and look at patterns across the horizontal axis. So 0 to 100. And people were all over pretty much in the higher level. That's great. And then when you go to the experienced leader rating, those are the managing directors, some presidents and other people who I talked to, there was a correlation between hundreds and higher numbers, and that these people had accomplished a lot in their lives. So what we've identified is that there's a really strong connection that between people who have accomplished a lot in their careers and their lives and their passion rating. So that's just an observation to be thinking about. So being very intentional and mindful about your passion is super important. So what we're going to focus on now is in this modern mentorship, we're going to focus on thinking about it as lifelong learning with this mindset of, yes, you want to learn, and, not but, and that you bring color to this canvas. And there's this risk that I think about all the time of losing that 100. And I am saying that as such a risk of like what you can bring yourself and do special that only you can do. Because there have been a lot of times in my life where I made the mistake and I let people make me feel like I was a zero and like I didn't have anything to contribute, or that my new idea, because I had a new idea, it was threatening. And people don't like change. And people are secure where they are, especially if not all people, I'm just saying if people are successful, that's reinforcing and they think this is good. So if you're around people that don't value this fresh, innovative thinking, there's a risk that 100 is going to start to erode. So keep this mindset of lifelong learning. You can learn from everywhere. There could be articles that you read. You could go watch someone start a dog walking business and they're doing something really cool that you want to do. There's a bakery that we work with, Blondery, that I love. It started a virtual bakery, and it's like gamification of getting your delivery of your order of your blonderies. They're delicious, but you can only order on Sunday and there's only a certain amount. It's all gamification, which is like super cool. I'm learning that from a bakery. It's an amazing entrepreneur. So this lifelong learning mindset, thinking that I'm 100 and I can learn from everywhere all the time, every day, is you're training your brain to learn. And when you start thinking all the time about what can I learn from this bakery, from this dog walker, from this leader who I absolutely don't agree with, but the way that they're communicating, that is brilliant. I want to do something like that. You're learning all the time. And I want to talk specifically about one-on-one mentorship. So speaking of one-on-one mentorship, how do you get there? Because that's what I'm asked a lot. Like, how do I find somebody? The way to do that is to be very specific. Like a specific ask. If you walk up to somebody or call them, text them, email, and say, I need a mentor. Like, what does that mean? Why do you want to talk to me? Especially if someone is accomplished, like they're busy with their lives and they don't know you, or they might not have time. This broad question about, will you mentor me or can I learn from you, is really hard to say yes to. There is something that can make someone with sincerity feel very special and like identified, like why you want to talk to them. Like, why do I want to talk to you? I want to talk to you because you wrote an article about X that was extremely controversial, and you wrote it in a way that did not offend me. I'm making up an example. So like, if you're a journalist, I want to know, like, how did you do that? How did you come up with balancing your perspective that was very strong and without alienating? And the other side of the argument that you're talking about. So that's something very specific. So you can say, I want to talk to you, X. You wrote this article and you've written 6 articles about that where you've not alienated somebody and the topic has been extremely controversial. I want to learn about it because I have a passion for journalism and I want to my goal is to be published in something. And you can be very specific. And then I even wrote words, like as simple as it is. People ask me all the time, like, well, what do I say? You say, hi, my name is Jayme. I am a 5th semester student and I'm majoring in the arts and sciences or literature, whatever it is, at Penn State. Now, if you're writing to somebody and they're from Penn State, like I've never met anyone who will not talk to you. Okay, and you can, if Penn State to Penn State alum, when you tell the person how you found out about them from the article, from the talk, from watching their videos, from reading their book, and you say, I'm passionate and curious to learn from you because, and this because could be, I have no idea what I want to do with my major. I'm curious. I want to know why you love what you love. Like, it can be anything. You don't have to be super specific about knowing exactly what you want to do. Just be honest. And then you say, I want to appreciate the opportunity to speak with you for or write to you or do something for 15 minutes, 30 minutes within the next month. Like something super simple. Like that's a very clear ask. And it's easier to say yes to that because you've identified the person, you know why you want to talk to them, you've done research on them, and you have a really little tiny piece of time that you're asking for. And if that person will not talk to you, then you don't want to talk to that person, because the people who will talk to you are people who are likely to be thinking of you as 100. I mean, they don't have that number in their head, but they're wanting to invest in the next generation because you have something to bring to the world. And the point is, I'm scared of sharks, so I put the shark up there. But it's at your own risk, you're going to rate yourself at less than 100 going into those conversations, because we've decoupled that. We've decoupled what you can learn from what you rate, like your fresh perspective, the potential for you to add value. Because you'll start to erode. It'll sneak up on you. You're going to erode, kind of like going to Starbucks. You're like, oh, I'm just going to buy one latte, but then you end up spending $6 a day for 365 days. It's a lot of money. It just sneaks up on you, and you could erode that 100. So just at your own risk, don't do it. Keep that 100 in mind. And then this is like the how we do it. Okay, this is the brain. So thinking about the mind and practice, this is practice, one area of focus. It takes the brain a lot of extra energy to do something consciously. If we're doing something new and if you're a soccer player and you go and you start playing baseball, you have to think about how to pick up a bat and how to swing it and where your foot is. But then if you're that soccer player, you're going to play soccer and you're not thinking about where you're stepping, like it's just automatically happening because it's unconscious. It takes so little energy for you to like have your everything, your body coordinated because it just happens. It's unconscious. So what we are starting to do, if we specifically practice the habit of thinking that we're 100 and we think in a conversation that we're having or when we're learning something that, yes, we want to learn from that person and I have fresh perspective, you then will start to do that without consciously thinking about it, and it will take a lot less energy. It's just going to be natural. Be easy, just like playing soccer if you're a soccer player. The other aspect of this practice is in asking the questions. It might be really hard. Has anyone here ever asked someone, like reached out to someone brand new and said, I want to learn something? You've done that? Are you interested to share, like, was it work related?
It had more to do with school.
Yeah.
Just like in high school.
And what was the value of doing that? Did you get something out of it?
Yeah. So I did like a capstone paper that was like 26 pages. It actually taught me a lot about the subject I was doing, and I had a few problems here and there, but I reached out to certain teachers and they helped me a lot.
Doing that is a practice. And if you practice that like right here in this environment where you have so little risk, there is, I can't think of can anyone think of a downside by asking a question?
Depending on the type of person, I guess, like, your pride could take a hit. Like, if you ask a question and it's not, doesn't sound sophisticated enough or something, I don't know.
If your question didn't sound, you're saying your question. So I look at that, and this is what we're going to look at. When people do that, that is a beautiful opportunity to practice not allowing your 100 to drop. That's a perfect example of letting that be eroded. And so what you're doing is you're looking at that person and they say, this was a terrible idea. You might say why, and you might want to learn something from it because maybe there is a point you want to incorporate. But that is an opportunity to practice asking those questions and saying, oh, I'm resilient and I'm very focused. This person doesn't know what I'm trying to do. So it's like learning without that value and you're valuing your perspective dropping at all. It's a beautiful opportunity to practice. So the more we go out and do it, the easier it is. The more we go out and ask questions, the easier it is to do it more. Because I bet if you went to do it again, you've done it before. So it gets easy. And then what's going to happen is it becomes unconscious, and you're going to say, oh, I need to know about this. Who can I figure out who to talk to? And you're not going to like have those feelings of I don't want to call someone, I'm anxious, or what if they don't like what I'm doing? Because you're just going to have done it before. It's practice, like the soccer. And I have, if there's an interactive question, if I can switch to it smoothly, I will. But what is one specific question that you would ask someone to learn something from their experience? Like very specific. You can even just put a jot in a few words. If you're already in the technology, that's great. I just want to. Yep. These questions are simple. They're easy to answer. You put around it, the reason I want to talk to you is because of this. Can you talk to me in the next month, next 2 weeks, for 15 minutes, 20 minutes about why? Why subject? Then that is your first time that you do it, and it's a practice. These are just such great, and we can even answer any of these questions here if we want to go back to it. Is there, to go to the next one?
Click here and then hit next, or next PowerPoint.
There. Okay. Would you commit to yourself to ask the question that you just put up, or one like it, within the next 2 weeks. Excellent. So what the discussion that would be valuable that we could have here, like right now we can ask the class and talk about it, or we can talk about it after, email, anything. I'm happy to talk about it. Also, if you want to, but you're not comfortable, I want to talk about why we're not comfortable and what we can do to make people comfortable doing it. Does anyone want to talk to the class about why they wouldn't be comfortable or why someone else might not be comfortable? Yes?
I feel like some people might not really be confident because they don't really know the response of the person they want to ask the question. And not knowing could also put like a bit of fear in them, which persuades them not to ask.
That makes so much sense. It's really similar to the answer that I got last night. They don't know what they say. They're afraid they'll say something negative and be judged. So this is like a thing we talk about all the time of courage and confidence. Courage is different than confidence. Courage is looking forward, and it's about thinking what you will do, be brave to do something you haven't done, like take a risk, versus confidence. You've done it before, so you know you can do it. So what we're talking about is having courage to go out and ask. And then this is the thing. If we're concerned that someone won't want to answer, they'll give us something negative, or they'll judge you for it, that can go away with two things. That fear, like the brain, the amygdala fear in the brain, can go away with two things. One of them is first to recognize that you have that 100 value and that you're trying to learn. And it really does not matter what that person says. It is you're empowered to take what they say and to have it be positive. It could be that person is very intimidated because you have this really great idea and they haven't come up with it. I'm just making that up. And so they might have this other motivation to not help you. If that's the case, you're going to get that from them, like they don't care, or they're saying something negative, or they're judging, and you're going to have that practice right there while you're in college of saying, I don't need everyone's approval. That's very important. You're getting that practice of going through it at a time, and you don't want to talk to that person then. Then you move on to the next one, and you ask someone else. And you're going to find that someone else who has this consequential energy, who wants to help you, that they're going to answer you and give you an answer that has some value to you. And then if you find people like that, you may say, this was so helpful because this is what I'm going to do with it, or this is what I was thinking. And then if that person gives you that answer and you say that, you can also say, do you know anyone else who would talk to me about this? Because someone who is positive and has consequential energy, like wants other people to thrive, they're going to know other people like that because they attract people like that. And so what happens is that you've created this pathway, not just in your mind of practicing asking that question and having courage, and getting confidence. You're going to have a pathway to more people with consequential energy. And it makes it easier because then there's a higher probability that the next person, because you're introduced to them, is going to have consequential energy and give you a helpful answer. Regardless, you're 100. So that's good practice to keep that. And I think, let me see, I left other time for questions at the end. We did that. This is my 100 bloom. You see that 100 in the middle? Bloom bold. So that's the thing, is to be bold. Oh, I have last video in closing. That's it. So I wanted to leave you with something cute and fun, so you'll remember butterflies and flowers and bloom radius. So my hope is that with this, like you bloom bold, you're bold, you have that courage to do things that are new, and that you find people who have that energy, who you can tell energy, that they want to help you, and the other people who do not and may be threatened because they're on this lower 50% of that graph. We understand where they're coming from and what they think, and that's okay. We don't need to focus there. Do you have any questions? And you can always, like I said, ask afterwards or write to me anything. Well, we can share my email.